Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to our first day of online teaching. And today I'm going to read you some stories about inventors and inventions. And when I'm reading the stories to you, I want you to be thinking about what it's really all about. Ask questions of who made those? How did they make them? What did they make? Why did they make them? Be always aware of when you are reading to ask questions, to find out answers about what you're reading about. But before we do that, I want to use some of our vocabulary words that might help you learning about inventions and the inventors. And the first one is called curious. The first word is curious. I think inventors are curious because they are wanting to learn about something. They are interested in it and they want to know more about it. They are very curious. It's just like this little boy. The boy in the picture is curious about whales. He is reading a book about them. And I'm sure a lot of you are curious too about other things. Maybe you're curious about the rainforest. And you want to know what animals live in the rainforest. So you would read about them, or you would look them up on the computer, or you would go to the zoo and look at the animals there in the zoo because you were curious to find out about them. What do they look like? Curious is to know more about something that you want to know about. Curious. And inventors have to be very curious, don't they? Our next one is imagine. And I think inventors have to imagine a lot when they go to make something that no one else has ever made. But they have an imagination that's unbelievable. And this little girl has something that isn't real, an imagination that isn't real, but it hasn't happened yet. And the little girl in the picture likes to imagine she is a princess. She imagines the frog is a prince. And she's hoping that he will come someday on a flying carpet and take her away like Aladdin did. Imagine. Imagine what it would be like, too, for you boys if you could jump really high and up on a roof. Or if you were Steph Curry and you were playing basketball and you could make all those three-point plays. Imagine that. Wouldn't that be exciting to do? Imagine. The next one is improve. To improve is to make something better. To make it better, it means you have to work at something to improve it. Like learning to read. You need to learn your special spellings or your irregular sight words. And in math, you need to learn your math facts so that you know your math facts just like that. And it will help you when you get into second grade also. To improve, you need to do something that will make it better. Like this little boy here, or mom or dad, whoever it is adding cheese to their spaghetti dish. And that will improve the taste of it. Boy, that looks good to eat, doesn't it? Device. Device. A device is an object made to do a certain job, such as a can opener. We need can openers, don't we? Can't get any soup to eat from a can unless we have a can opener. So it's made to do a certain job. Dad here in this picture has an advice, and that measures how much air is in the tires on the car. If his tire goes flat, then he won't be able to drive the car. So he measures it with that device. Think of something else that is something that you can use as a device. Such as we said, a can opener. In the kitchen, you would also use your microwave or a blender or a toaster. There are many devices that we use every day. And our other word is complicated. If something is complicated, it has many parts and is difficult to understand. Now, I know in some of our math that we've been doing has been complicating, and you were complicated by it because it had too many parts for us to figure out. But we worked on it and we solved our problems. It wasn't so complicated that we couldn't figure it out, but we had to work at it, didn't we? Sarah tried to fix this broken clock in the picture, but it was too complicated, so I'm sure she had to talk to her mom and dad about it. But she was trying because it had so many pieces to it. It was complicated. And I'm sure when you are an inventor that you would find it complicated in figuring out how to build something or to make something that people can use. That would be very complicated, huh? But right now, I'm going to show you some inventions that people have made, inventors have made. And as I'm reading this, I want you to think about what I'm reading and sharing with you. Be sure that you think in your mind, you're asking questions. How did that happen? Why did they make that? How did they make that? So ask your questions. In anything that you read, you should be asking and thinking to comprehend, to understand. So look at this picture now. And I know that you know what it is. Look at that. These are telephones. We use inventions all the time, and I don't think we realize it. An invention is something an inventor makes for curious people, and they figure out how to solve their problems. An inventor can imagine a new thing that will help them and other people in their lives and make it easier. And certainly, what would we do without telephones? This is the original telephone built by Alexander Graham Bell. And he invented the telephone many years ago, over 100 years ago. And they could call people from their home and from their jobs, but it did not go very far. And it was difficult because they had to wind it up, they had to talk in this speaker, they had to listen in this earphone, and then a person in another building would have to plug it in so it would go to the other person to lift their phone so that they could talk. It was complicated. So someone else invented an easier phone to use, and it has a dial. And that's what I had when I was a little girl. That was the type of phone that we used. And we were so excited when we got that telephone. But today, we have a very special phone, and it is a cell phone. That's right, a cell phone. And I know that you have all used or have a cell phone. It's not just for calling. You can do so many things with it that you could never do with the other telephones. You can Google things and find out where things are. You can also buy things online. You use a text, email. You can do it for so many things. And our life has become complicated in some ways with it, but it also has made life so much easier. And that's one of the great inventions that we have learned about. And you would be thinking, well, how did they do it? So you need to investigate and figure it out, okay? Now, our next one, how would you like to read at night if there weren't any electrical lights? It certainly would be hard, but the light bulb is another invention that changed the world. Look at this little girl. She's reading and she has a lamp so that she can see. Remember when we learned about Abraham Lincoln? And he did not have electricity. He used a candle, and a lot of people did not have even candles. So they read by the fireplace, or they had to read during the day because they did not have electricity, nor did they have any other lights at all. So many times they would have to go out by the fire outside to read also. But someone invented gas lights, and they were great, but they were dangerous because they gave off a fume that made people sick, and sometimes it caused fires too. People need a bright, safe light. And then someone invented street lights. And that was great to have electric light that lasted a long time. But they needed something better than that. And Thomas Edison found a way to make a light bulb that was both safe and long-lasting. His invention let people see at night while they worked, played, and studied. Today, inventors are still trying to improve the light bulb. The newest lights give off less heat and use less energy. And like Edison's light bulb, they last a long time. I'm so glad we have light bulbs and we don't have to read by a candle. I think that is a great invention, Thomas Edison. The next great invention, the car. The car was invented by Henry Ford. Henry Ford loved to tinker around and make things, but his greatest invention was the car. Because before they had a car, they had to either walk, ride a horse, or ride in a wagon. And if at that one point in time they had trains, they could go on a train. But then when they got to the city or their destination, they still had to walk wherever they went. So it was exciting when the first gas-powered car was invented in America. People could drive anywhere there was a road. But it cost a lot of money and it was complicated to build. But Henry Ford fixed that. He invented the assembly line where he had many people in a line that one would put together the base of the car. Another one would put in the engine. Another one would put in the seats and the gears and the glass and everything they needed. But everybody had a specialty, and it made it much faster and easier to build a car. So now we have assembly lines too, and it's even faster than it was way back when Henry Ford started this. That's why we have so many cars on the road, because they can build them fast. And now people can drive and go anywhere they want, anywhere they live, and they get to go to some wonderful places to visit also. Cars have let us travel everywhere, but it also means there are a lot of cars on the road now, huh? Just like in going to San Francisco or to Oakland or to Sacramento. Our last invention is a computer. Look at this. Do you know what this one is right here? Do you know what that picture is? It is a picture of the first computer. Look at that. This is a big, huge room. And it was developed in 1940 and 1950. And it was the first one to be built. And it was whole rooms at colleges and businesses where they would put this big, huge computer. I don't know how they figured that one out. Those are a lot of questions that I have on that one. And how did they do it? And I wish I had all the answers to that. But the first computers in America were just like this. And imagine one day, to have people were thinking one day we should have computers in our homes. And that thought, oh, that'll never happen. But you know, they invented the smaller computers, didn't they? At first, they had to make a bigger computer that would sit on your desk. And then they would put this microchip in it. And this tiny device allowed computers to do more and take up less space. And people pretty soon were owning their own personal computer like this, which is kind of like the ones that you have, huh? And these personal computers at first were really heavy to carry. And some of them stood up on a desk or on a table. And then the inventors figured out how to make them smaller and lighter, and the laptops came. And now it's easy to carry around, and we even now have computers on our watches and things too. People continue to invent new things about computers and programs that let us use computers in new ways. It's fun to imagine what computers of the future might do. Kind of scary too, huh? Because they sure can do a lot of things. That's our story for today, boys and girls. And on Thursday, I'm going to read a story to you about a robot and a man that created this robot. But what I want you to do today and tomorrow is to think about all the inventions in your house. Look around. It's not just the big things, but look at some of the small things that you would have in your house that have been invented. I bet you'll be surprised at how many you can think of. Try to write them down in your writing journal. All the inventions that you have thought about, have seen, and maybe you have some questions to ask about the inventions. Talk to your mom and dad about it. Maybe get on the computer and Google and find out more things about inventions. Boys and girls, it's been fun to be with you today. Hope you have a great day of learning, and I will see you next time. Bye.